1558, page 1559, page 1560, page 1561, page 1562, page 1563, page 1564, page 1565, page 1566, page 1567, page 1568, page 1569, page 1570. Distinguished Senator Abomoro.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, I have the privilege to move that the votes and proceedings of Tuesday, 16th March 2021 be approved. I so move.
Distinguished Senator Mohamed Bima Energy.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, my highly respected distinguished colleagues. My name is Senator Bima Muhammad Enagi. I represent the people of Niger South. I rise to second the motion that the votes and proceedings of Tuesday, 16th March 2021 be adopted and approved. Thank you.
Thank you, distinguished colleagues. Those in favor of the motion that the votes and proceedings of Tuesday, 16th March 2021 be approved, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. The votes and proceedings of Tuesday, 16th March 2021 is hereby approved. Letter from the Deputy Senate President and Chairman of the Committee on the Review of the 1999 Constitution. His Excellency, the Senate President, announcement. The Senate Committee on the Review of the 1999 Constitution will meet tomorrow, Thursday, 18th March 2021, at 12 p.m. in Senate Meeting Room 231, Senate Building. Signed, Senator Ove Omoagege, Deputy Senate President and Chairman. Petition. Chairman, Senate Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, my name remains Senator Yoakin Elore, representing Udo Centre. Mr. President, official presentation of petition not late, but refer to the Committee on Ethics from the Office of the President of the Senate. The Senate Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petition, along with order 41.1 and 3, which is to present to the Senate some petition yet to be laid from the Office of the President of the Senate, in order to officially place the petition in the public domain through the floor of the Senate and for votes and proceedings to capture the approval for referral. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, please find below the summary of petition received from the Office of the President of the Senate for each of reference. Number 1, Clifford Thomas and Teresa Udoka Esquire. Responded, Ime Akpa Umo. Deceit. Mr. President, this is colleague, please excuse me, there's a mistake. No, number 1, Dr. Oyilawa Okuhua Shui and Dr. Jerry Ishogun responded, Federal Government of Nigeria, subject, failure to pay house officer salary. Number 2, Kende Yakim Esquire, Bureau of Public Enterprises. The federal government plans concession of Lagos International Trade Fair Complex. Ceaseless attempt by the Bureau of Public Enterprise to concession the entire Lagos International Trade Fair Complex without due regard to the massive infrastructural investment by the stakeholders and their existing leasehold interests. Number 3, petition from Chief Sir Monday Abwe, respondent, Federal Government of Nigeria. Subject matter of the petition: the dangerous state of kilometer 015 Eleme Junction, One, section of the East-West Road in Eleme, local government area of Rivers State. Number 4, Dr. Issa Keke Subai against Abuja Municipal Area Council, illegal demolition of part of Refa Hospital perimeter fence. Number 5, Ajisola Michael S., Bureau of Public against Bureau of Public Enterprise and Pension Transfer Arrangement Directorate, petition on the adjustment of my grade level by the petitioner. Number 6, Victor Olupeka Esquire against Federal Government Ministry of Works and Housing, request for appeal to return our road, Ogidi Asaya, Ayere to Ajowa Ikare Akoko back to the original status as it was incorporated to the law of Federal Republic of Nigeria and British colonial law from 1887 to 1959. Number 7, Ogorodi Isaac Onohago and 135 others against the National Assembly Service Commission, letter of appeal by 2018 legally recruited staff of the National Assembly yet to assume official duty up to now. Number 8, Anahu Ozomba against the Lagos State Judicial Service Commission with demand for judgment documents or payment of the value of our goods. Mr. President, esteemed colleagues, to the best of my knowledge, none of the above petitions is seeking judicial remedy. I therefore move, Mr. President, to seek the indulgence of the Senate of Federal Republic to lay the above petition before the Senate for official referral to the committee for further legislative action. I so move, Mr. President.
Well, since none of the petitioners is seeking judicial remedy, you may lay the petitions, please. Petitions are referred to the Senate Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petitions to report back within 4 weeks. Any more petitions? Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the first business of the day is the presentation of our bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Muhammad Enagi Bima on Federal University of Agriculture and Maritime Studies, Mokwa, Niger State, Establishment Bill 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Federal University of Agriculture and Maritime Studies, Mokwa, Niger State, Establishment Bill 2021, SB 365, first reading.
Federal University of Agriculture and Maritime Studies, Mokwa, Niger State, Establishment Bill 2021, SB 365, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the second business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Aishatu Tahiru Ahmed Binani on the University Teaching Hospitals Reconstruction of Boards, etc. Act, U15, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, Amendment Bill 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, University Teaching Hospitals Reconstitution of Boards, etc. Act, Cap U15, LFN 2004, Amendment Bill 2021, SB 648, first reading.
University Teaching Hospitals Reconstitution of Boards, etc. Act Cap U15 Amendment Bill 2021 SB 648 first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the third business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Chukwuka Utazi on the Court of Appeal Act Amendment Bill 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Court of Appeal Act Amendment Bill 2021, SB 670, first reading.
Court of Appeal Act Amendment Bill 2021 SB 670 first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the fourth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Stella Adaize Odua on the Nwafo Orizu University of Education Establishment Bill 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Nwafo Orizo University of Education Establishment Bill 2021, SB 671, first reading.
Nwafo Orizu University of Education Establishment Bill 2021 SB 671 first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the fifth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Isa Shaibu Lau on the Federal University of Science and Technology Lau, Taraba State Establishment Bill 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Federal University of Science and Technology Lau, Taraba State Establishment Bill 2021, SB 672, first reading.
Federal University of Science and Technology Law, Taraba State Establishment Bill 2021 SB 672 first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the sixth business of the day is the presentation of the reports of the Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petition in respect of one, petition from Mr. Isa Usman Kunini on behalf of 126 retired officers of the Nigerian Post Authority against the Nigerian Post Authority for alleged non-payment of the balance of 100% of the 280% of their gratuity benefits by the authority since 2018. And two, petition from Arthur C. Nwosu, Esquire, on behalf of Deputy Controller of Customs, Idris Aloma Zamdai, against the Nigerian Customs Service for unlawful dismissal from service. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Patrick Akinyelure, Chairman of the committee, to move a motion for the Senate to receive the report.
Senator Akinyelure.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. My name remains Senator Yoaki Elore, representing Ondo Central. Mr. President, I write to move that the Senate do receive the reports of the Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petition in respect of a petition from Mr. Isa Usman Kwini on behalf of 126 retired officers of Nigerian Post Authority, NPA, against Nigerian Post Authority, NPA, for alleged non-payment of the balance of 100% of 20% of their gratuity benefit by the authority since 2018. And two, Mr. President, petition from Arthur C. Nwosu Esquire on behalf of Deputy Controller General of Customs, DC Idris Aloma Zamdai, against Nigeria Customs Service for unlawful dismissal from service. Mr. President, I write to seek the indulgence of the Senate for me to lay this report for call.
Senator Engineer Kabir Barkia, Katana Central. Can you second the motion moved by the Chairman Ethics?
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I'm Senator Kabir Abdullah Barkia, representing Katana Central. I rise to second the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, distinguished colleagues. Those in favor of the motion that the Senate do receive the reports of our Committee on Public Petitions, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Chairman, you may lead the reports, please. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the seventh business of the day is the presentation of the report of the Joint Committee on Federal Road Maintenance Agency, FERMA, Petroleum Downstream, and National Planning on the motion on non-remittance of the 5% user charge pump price of petrol and international vehicles transit charges accruing to the Federal Road Maintenance Agency. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the distinguished Senator Gershom Bass, Chairman of the committee, to move the motion for the Senate to receive the report.
Is anyone presenting the report on his behalf? Because, you are presenting on his behalf. Okay. Distinguished Senator Kabir Barkia to present the report on behalf of Senator Gershom Bass.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I am Senator Engineer Kabir Abdullahi Barkia, representing Kaduna Central. I rise to submit the report on the motion of non-remittance of 5% user charge, comprised of petrol and international vehicle transit charge, current to Federal Road Maintenance Agency and other established state road maintenance agencies. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I move the motion to support, to present the report. Thank you.
Any seconder? Senator Ibrahim Yahya Olurogbe.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, Ibrahim Yahya Olurogbe is my name. I represent Kwara Central District. I rise to second the motion that this Senate will receive the report of the Joint Committee on Federal Road Maintenance Agency, FAMA, Petroleum Downstream, and National Planning on the motion on the non-remittance of 5% user charge pump price of petrol and international vehicle transit charges accruing to Federal Road Maintenance Agency. I so second, Mr. President.
Distinguished colleagues, those who heard the motion that the Senate receive the report of the Joint Committee on Federal Road Maintenance Agency, FEMA, Petroleum Downstream, and National Planning, say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Chairman, you may lay the report. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the first order of the day is the second reading of the Armed Forces Service Commission Establishment Structure Bill 2021. That is Senate Bill 362. The distinguished senators will recall that the bill was read the first time in this distinguished chamber on Tuesday, 3rd March 2020. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Inaya Abaribe to move the motion for the bill to be read the second time.
The Minority Leader, Senator Inaya Abaribe.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to move that this Senate do permit me to do the second reading of the Armed Forces Service Commission Establishment, etc., Bill 2021, SB 362. I so move.
No, you can go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President, my highly distinguished colleagues. I don't have the copy. Let me wait a little bit for the copy.
Please distribute the lead debate, Secretariat.
Thank you, Mr. President. Please, Mr. President and my highly distinguished colleagues, permit me to lead the debate of this very important bill for the establishment of the Armed Forces Service Commission. The bill was read for the first time in these hallowed chambers on Tuesday, 3rd of March, 2020. This bill seeks to get the National Assembly to give effect to the clear provisions of Section 219 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended. The Armed Forces of Nigeria is a national institution that should be insulated from the vagaries of political divisions, and therefore the framers of the Constitution, in their wisdom, inserted this section to prevent a situation where our national symbol of unity and strength could be sacrificed on the altar of political temperament. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, this bill seeks to establish the Armed Forces Service Commission to ensure that the composition, appointment of service chiefs of the Armed Forces of the Federation reflects federal character of Nigeria in the manner prescribed in Section 2173 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. For clarity, Section 219 states as follows: the National Assembly shall, in giving effect to the functions specified in Section 217 of the 1999 Constitution, B, with respect to the powers exercisable by the President under Section 218 of the Constitution, establish a body that shall comprise such members as the National Assembly may determine, and we shall have power to ensure that the composition of the Armed Forces of the Federation reflects federal character of Nigeria in the manner prescribed by Section 217 of the Constitution. The establishment of this commission is informed by the imperative to give effect to the provisions of Section 217 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic to ensure that the composition, appointment of service chiefs of the Armed Forces of the Federation reflects the said section. The function and powers of the Commission shall be to have the power and authority pursuant to Section 219 of the Constitution as amended to ensure that the composition, appointment of service chiefs of the Federation, of the Armed Forces of the Federation reflects federal character in the manner prescribed in Section 2173 of the 1999 Constitution. Ensure that the functions specified in Section 217 of the 1999 Constitution and the powers exercised by the President in appointment of the service chiefs and officer corps and other ranks of the Armed Forces of the Federation in Section 218 reflects the said section. Recommend to the President from among the best and most qualified and most educated and most experienced members of the Armed Forces of the Federation for appointment of Chief of Defense Staff, Chief of Army Staff, Chief of Air Staff, Chief of Naval Staff, Director of National Intelligence, and heads of other armed-bearing security agencies, and ensure that such appointment reflects the federal character of Nigeria. Recommend to the President the removal from office as service chiefs and heads of other armed-bearing security agencies on grounds of misconduct, abuse of office, breach of any section of the Constitution, the Armed Forces Act, or any other act of the National Assembly. Approve promotion from among the best, most competent, and qualified officers as heads of military formations, branches, such as general officers commanding, and their equivalent in the Navy and Air Force. Provided that in making such recommendations, the Commission shall observe the federal character principle and adopt an equitable template to spread the offices of the service chiefs and officer corps and other ranks among the 6 geopolitical zones of the country. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the enactment of this bill will help to strengthen our national unity and integration, where the overall interest of all sections of the country is protected. Mr. President, my highly respected colleagues, in line with Order 77.3 of our standing rules, the financial compendium is hereby attached. I urge all of you to support this bill for the second reading. I so submit. Thank you.
Senator Adija.
Mr. President, highly distinguished colleagues, I remain Senator Idi Gyang. I'm from Plateau North. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to contribute to the debate on this very important bill that seeks to give effect to Section 219 of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended, and to commend the minority leader for coming up with this very bill that seeks to activate a provision of the Constitution as it reflects and concerns the armed forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The presentation, which is anchored on Section 219 of the Constitution, Mr. President, that is a section that empowers the National Assembly to establish a body and that body, the Constitution has not given it a name. Rather, the Constitution has given those powers and discretion to the National Assembly to define and determine and recommend and legislate on what the name should be. And that name, as recommended by the sponsor of the bill, is an Armed Forces Service Commission. The name proposed by the bill therefore does not offend the Constitution. It does not offend the Constitution. The body, as established and as will be legislated by these very hallowed chambers, has its functions cut out very clearly in that section 219 of the Constitution. And that is to ensure that the composition of the armed forces of the Federation reflect the federal character of Nigeria, compliant to Section 219, which is the federal character provision. And like the sponsor has said, this commission would go a very long way to address certain concerns and also to strengthen the unity of the Federal Republic of Nigeria without compromising professionalism, competence and excellence,
believe very strongly that the federal character principle is to strengthen the unity of Nigeria. And to that extent, I support that this bill should find the support of members of this hallowed chamber, and I therefore support this bill in its entirety. Thank you, Mr. President and distinguished colleagues.
Senator Francis Alimekina.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, my name is Senator Francis Alimekina, representing the good people of Edo North. Mr. President and distinguished colleagues, in as much as this bill is good on the paper, it's going to create a disunity in the operation of the armed forces. As it's presently composed, the Commission cannot take the function of the Chief of Army Staff or the functions of all the chiefs, of all the service chiefs. Because if you allow this bill to materialize, the armed forces will be polarized and the professionalism will be killed. Yes. So, Mr. President, it is the function of the Chief of Army Staff or the service chiefs that knows the competence of their officers that can recommend for any position. The Commission cannot know who is competent, because by the time we establish this bill, the military will be politicized and everybody, the professionalism will not be there. So I believe it is better for the mover of this bill to look at it second time and reframe it.
Senator Ibrahim Yahya Olorogbe.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. My name is Ibrahim Yahya Olorogbe. I represent Para Central. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, my submission will be in line with the last speaker. And I think we need to carefully read Section 217. And if I have your permission, Mr. President, I want to read subsection 1 of 217. There shall be an armed forces for the Federation, which shall consist of an army, a navy, an air force, and such other branches of the armed forces as may be established by an act of National Assembly. Now, I do want to read all the other parts. Currently, Mr. President, we have all these branches, and each of the branches does have councils, which perform the function of appointment and promotion. Now, the new commissions that is being proposed to be established, just like the last speaker said, rather than it having effect in terms of promoting unity and strengthening our armed forces, it will be a mere creation of a bureaucratic setup that will not enable the armed forces to do what it's supposed to do. Of course, we are aware of the Section 14, which establishes federal character in everything we do. And the practice in the current councils, there is councils for each one, and there's already in existence a defense council, which combine the joint forces. Therefore, Mr. President, I think I want to urge that the mover of this bill do withdraw the bill, as it may not be able to achieve the desired effect, and we may not proceed with it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Opeyemi Bamidele.
Thank you, Mr. President and distinguished colleagues. I'm Michael Opeyemi Bamidele. I represent Ekiti Central Senatorial District. Mr. President, this is one of those moments, again, where, as elected representatives of the people who swore to uphold the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, we have to take a decision as to whether or not we want to stand and uphold the clear provisions of the Constitution or allow whatever primordial sentiment to make us shy away from upholding the Constitution. Section 219 of our Constitution is very clear, Mr. President. And it is for this Senate to take a decision. The word shall is used in section 219. With your permission, Mr. President, I would like to read again. Section 219, the National Assembly shall, A, in giving effect to the functions specified in section 217, and B, with respect to the powers exercisable by the President under section 218 of this Constitution, by an act, which is what the sponsor of this bill is trying to achieve, by an act of the National Assembly, establish a body which shall comprise such members as the National Assembly may determine. Mr. President, yes, there's an Army Council. Yes, there's a Navy Council. Yes, there's whatever council. Let this National Assembly take the decision that representatives of such council shall also become members, automatic members of the of the Armed Forces Service Commission. Here is the point. Those who might not want a standardized manner of recruitment into our armed forces cannot run away from the fact that we will continue to allow such decisions to be shrouded in secrecy, and we don't need any meat around who can join the armed forces. They have their eligibility criteria. We have a Federal Civil Service Commission. We have a National Assembly Service Commission. We have a Police Service Commission. Why are we running away from having an Armed Forces Service Commission? So, Mr. President, as far as I'm concerned, it is not about a debate as to whether we have it or not. The Constitution, has provided for it. The Constitution says it shall happen. And it is for us to perform our duty. It is a duty imposed on us by the Constitution. The word of the Constitution says shall. The National Assembly shall. The fact that it has not been done up till now, and it is being proposed today by the sponsor of this bill, is a wake-up call. It's a clarion call on the National Assembly to do a duty imposed on it by the Constitution. Mr. President, I stand to be counted as one of those who stand to uphold the Constitution of
Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, I stand before this distinguished chamber to affirm that this bill stands on very, very solid constitutional grounds, from section 217 to 218 and 219. They impose it as a duty of this hallowed chamber to provide for the establishment of an institution to manage the armed forces. What it has done is to share the management of the armed forces between the executive and the legislature. It gives the legislature the powers to manage the affairs of the Nigerian armed forces. Running away from this is running away from our own constitutional responsibilities as enunciated by my friend, skillfully too, Senator Bamidele, and also the mover of this bill. I therefore do respectfully state that this issue really is not controversial. The issue is when the bill now comes after it goes to the committee and then it's presented to him so that we can look at the articles. And whatever is required to be done, judging from the peculiarity of this country, which we all know, we should now sit down, given the responsibilities that have been assigned to us as members of this hallowed chamber by our constituents, do justice without fear or favor, and patriotically come up with a law and a commission that does justice to the responsibilities that this nation and its constitution falls on us. So with me, for example, Chairman, I don't think there is really any need at this level. In terms of principles of the motion, I think the motion passes every test that it should go and pass the second reading. And when we come for the third reading of the bill after it has gone through the public hearing and all our legal and legislative processes, we should put our hands together so that we can come up with a law that does justice to the responsibilities that have been assigned to us by the constitutions of this great country.
DSP.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ovi Omo Agege, Delta Central Senatorial District. Mr. President, I like to align myself in the main with the position taken by the leader of the Senate. Mr. President, on the surface, it's difficult to quarrel with the content of the motion, of the bill. But Mr. President, the devil is in the details. The devil is in the details. So I, standing here today, I will not be opposed to this bill being read for the second time. So we have an opportunity during the public hearing and when it comes before us here to look at the provisions. But let me just say up front, without prejudice to what will come out from the public hearing. Under Section 219, which is the anchor for this bill, what they are seeking to do is enact a law, an act of parliament, though provided for under 219, but it's also, it will be an inferior legislation to the constitutional provisions. Because the power to appoint the chief of defense staff, the chief of army staff, the chief of naval staff, the chief of air force, and other security agencies as may be determined by us. But at least these ones are already determined by the Constitution. That power to make the appointment is already conferred on Mr. President. And that's a constitutional provision. That's Section 218, 218B, I believe. 2182. That power is sacrosanct. It's already established. I am saying this, that we should not end up making a law, which is an act of the National Assembly, that will derogate from the clear constitutional powers already conferred on Mr. President. But having said that, Mr. President, will I wait to see the deliberations of the public hearing and also wait for the clause-by-clause consideration when it comes before us. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Alero.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I remain Muhammad Adamu Alero, representing the good people of Kebbi State. Mr. President, I stand on the other side of the divide. And quite frankly, I find it very difficult to support the second reading of this bill because it offends the Constitution. The armed forces is the symbol of Nigerian unity. Therefore, we should not do anything to politicize it. And if we go ahead with the with the bill as proposed by my good friend and my brother, Senator Abadibi, the Senate Minority Leader, we will compromise the provisions of the Constitution. And we will politicize the appointments of service chiefs, which is not good for this country. Mr. President, already we have the Federal Character Commission,
which had the responsibility of overseeing appointments in virtually all establishments of the federal government. And we have power to summon the leader, the chief executive of any commission that offends the federal character in the appointment. Mr. President, we all know that if the Army, the Navy, the Air Force are recruited, they will normally comply with the of the federal character. In every state of the federation is given slots. In fact, equal number of slots. States that are even bigger in terms of population are not even considered based on their population. I will give you an example. A state like Lagos, with a population of over 20 million people, they are given the same number of people with Bayelsa, with the population of maybe about 4 or 5 million people, simply because they want to comply with the provisions of the Constitution. So if we go ahead with the proposal, it will certainly compromise the integrity, the neutrality of the Nigerian Armed Forces. And this is going to be very dangerous. The service chiefs are appointed among the most competent officers in the hierarchy, whether it is the Army, the Navy, or the Air Force. If a service chief is to be appointed, normally the National Security Council will recommend to the President the most senior and the most competent among the officers. So if you go ahead with this proposal, Mr. President, it will undermine the constitutional provision. And what this bill seeks to do is to recognize the 6th geopolitical zone of this country, which is alien to the Nigerian Constitution, even though we have acts of National Assembly recognizing the geopolitical zoning, but the Constitution does not recognize political zoning. So, if you want to do this, first you have to amend the Constitution to recognize or accept the political zone of this country into 6 zones before you come and pass this bill. Mr. President, I'm against this bill for the simple reason that it will over-politicize the appointment of service chiefs in our country. It will not be good for the unity of this country, and it will not be good for the armed forces because it will affect their morale, because it may end up not recognizing the merit. And if you do that, it will bring the morale of the officers serving in the armed forces. I therefore urge my colleagues to study this bill carefully and do what is good for this country. Thank you, Mr. President.
Deputy Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Very distinguished colleagues. I am Boacha Emmanuel, I represent Taraba South. Mr. President, in my own humble opinion, rather than politicizing this bill, I want to encourage our colleagues to understand the character and content of this bill. It's simply waking us up from sleep to do our job. That is how it is, as I stand now, because it is urging us, giving effect to a constitutional provision that grants us the power to establish a commission to oversee the armed forces. And there are existing commissions on ground. In fact, let me emphasize, Mr. President, it will strengthen the bond of unity of our country rather than creating disunity, contrary to what my respected colleague said. It is in our own interest if we'll give it effect of existence. But Mr. President, let me add that the 6 geopolitical zones can even be thrown away in establishing this commission. We must not necessarily adhere to it. It is not the main focus of the bill. The bill is to have a commission that will oversight the armed forces, just as we have in the police. The police is not being politicized. There is a police commission that oversights the police. And in any case, it does not even tamper with the powers of the president to appoint service chiefs. No, because the buck ends on the president's table. So let us not try to politicize anything that is good for the interest of the country. The buck ends on the president's table. If he has a commission that nominates people he doesn't like, the president can reject it. He has that power. So let us not make everything, let us not politicize everything. This is my humble submission, Mr. President, and I support this bill until it gets to the public hearing. The basic details can be examined, and areas we agree. Those we don't agree, we destroy them, we throw them away. So let us not be, creating problems where there are none. Thank you, Mr.
Senator Bladon.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Our very distinguished colleagues, my name is Senator Abdullahi Adamu, and I represent Nasarawa West. I want to lend my voice to the debate on this bill for the establishment of Armed Forces Service Commission. Mr. President, on the face of the bill being proposed, we are clearly being invited to comply with the provision, very specific provision of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999 as amended. That is what the sections that are being quoted in the bill is asking us or calling us to do. Mr. President, in as much as the call for this bill would appear to be in consonance with the provisions of the Constitution as being highlighted in the debate, I want to ask a few questions. My first question is, yes, there is provision in the Constitution for what is being sought. But the 1999 Constitution, as amended, has been the Constitution that every National Assembly since then have sworn to preserve, protect, and defend. The mover of this bill is not a first-timer in this Senate. He has been part and parcel of at least 3 Senates as of this term of his membership. Fourth. And this Constitution has been in operation all this while. Why now? Why now? Is this suggesting that all these national assemblies between 1999 and now that did not pass a bill for the establishment of this commission have been in default? Is this the proposition? Mr. President, short of declaring emergency in this country, in the situation what we're going through and what our armed forces are going through, this is probably the worst period after the Biafran War. This is the worst period that has overstretched the unity, the professional competence of our armed forces. And for us now to now want to introduce this commission at this point in time is going to be very, very diversionary. The fact remains, the fact remains that yes, the President, Commander-in-Chief, the buck stops on his table. Yes, it will always stop on his table as far as we run a constitutional government. And it has been stopping there all this while. Somehow, there has been some grumblings here and there since the appointment of the last set, of this current set of, our service chiefs and the Chief of Defense. And this is what has given birth to this bill. There's nothing wrong. It is depending on the provision of the Constitution, so that, with respect, Mr. President, it amounts to almost blackmailing the National Assembly. Because it's been there. This provision has been there. And the mover of this bill has been a legislator, has been a senator. This is fourth time, I'm reminded. And he didn't move it. Why now? Why now? So, Mr. President, while I am not ipso facto opposed in principle with the provision of the Constitution, the timing is wrong. We can take some time, we can discuss the pros and cons of this bill and see if it has to come, in what form it comes. That's what we have now.
Senator Adamu Muhammad Bulkachua, Sarkin Bang Katagum.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to lend my voice to this seemingly controversial, but in reality, simple and straightforward. I stand, Mr. President, to oppose this bill. And I look at the whole scenario as a non-issue. The federal character is already enshrined in the Constitution, and federal character starts from the beginning of recruitment in any service. And probably those of us who don't know what federal character means and how it operates is whenever there is a vacancy, they refer to the Federal Character Commission to give them the list of each occupant of a seat from all the states, and they will see where there is imbalance, and they will recommend to the recruiting agency who to be recruited from which state. Now, to hide under the cover of Section 219, 217 of the Constitution is just an academic exercise. Because, yes, it is. And I'm telling you from the point of view, I have read the Constitution, and you can't be more lawyer than myself. Mr. President, since this Constitution has been operated, and even those who argue on the side of the Constitution that we should follow the Constitution because the Constitution said the National Assembly may or shall. Mr. President, you just read a communication from the Deputy Senate President that there will be a meeting of the Constitution Review Committee. The Constitution itself is not sacrosanct. It's not something that cannot be changed. So we can't use that argument to change the status quo. So, Mr. President, I think we should advise the mover of the motion to drop this matter and let's move ahead. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Mohammed Danjuma Goje.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Mohammed Danjuma Goje, representing Central Gombe State. It's on. It's working now. I think it's on. Mr. President, I would like to also contribute to this very, very important debate. First, I want to say clearly that I will never go against the Constitution of Nigeria. Anything they say is constitutional is very important to us who are here to observe. We have all sworn to promote and defend the Constitution of Nigeria. But that does not mean that we should always do it in absolute terms. As argued by some previous speakers, to attempt to politicize the armed forces of Nigeria at this point in time, I think is very, very dangerous for the security and peace of this country. The armed forces are overstretched. They are engaged in so many things that are not supposed to be their own duties. And they need to be motivated, they need to be appreciated. For us to introduce something that will bring disunity within the armed forces is to create more problems for ourselves in this country. If you look at the position of the mover of this bill, he said, among other things, that the commission will recommend to the president the removal from office as service chiefs and heads of other arm-bearing security agencies. So he has even gone beyond the Army, Navy, Air Force. He has gone to other arms-bearing agencies. That will bring confusion to us. Take the case of the police. We have a police service commission, we have the police. They even had to go to court. I don't think the case is even over now. The case between the IG and the police service commission. So, you know, all of us will know that it is more sensitive. It is very, very dangerous for the armed forces to go to court with the proposed National Armed Forces Service Commission. So I think it is dangerous. If we cannot promote the peace, unity of the armed forces today, we should not aggravate the disunity of the situation. For me, I believe the mover is a very seasoned legislator. He's not only a legislator, but he's also a leader of this side. No, leader of this side. That's official designation. Leader of the minority. We should not. And he has been in this Senate. He has been a very, very powerful senator, belonging to various cabals of this Senate, at least from 2007 to 2011 to date. He has never introduced this kind of bill, which is very dangerous at this point in time. So I would like to advise him to quietly stand down this bill until such a time when it is auspicious for us to debate it. So I'm not opposing the bill, but I'm opposing the presentation of this bill at this point in time. So I advise that he should step it down to be discussed at a later date. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Chukwuka Utazi.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Senator Chukwuka Utazi. I represent the good people of Enugu North, Central District of Enugu State. Mr. President, the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is an institution for distinguished, eminent, respectable individuals. The Senate of the Federal Republic, as an arm of government, this type of people I've just mentioned here, should rise above board in looking at issues of national importance. Mr. President, the issue before all of us here is a purely legislative matter that is presented in the Parliament for us to give effect to the 1999 Constitution as amended. And the express provisions of the Constitution are not ambiguous. They are very, very straightforward. Mr. President, it pains my heart that when people want to import other negativities into an issue that is straightforward, that detracts for our duty as the upper chamber of the National Assembly of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Mr. President, I don't want to go and repeat Section 217 and 219, but I want to say that the essence of whatever we are doing here, the federal character principle, as enunciated and encapsulated in the 1999 Constitution, is to respect the diversity of this country. It will make sure that things work. We have commissions. We have had commissions before. This commission is not going to be different from other commissions. They are going to still perform their duties as other commissions, like we have a police service commission. Mr. President, in order to bring home this issue, I want to refer us to Section 14, which my friend Olodebe alluded to in passing, and I want to also give meaning to it. And that is for the Section 14. I want to read from subsection 3. Composition of the government of the Federation or any of its agencies and the conduct of its affairs shall be carried out in such manner as to reflect the federal character of Nigeria and the need to promote national unity and also command national loyalty, thereby ensuring that there shall be no predominance of persons from a few states or from a few ethnic or other sectional groups in that government or any of its agencies. And I want to also go to subsection 4 of Section 14. The composition of the government of a state or a local government council, or any of its agencies of such government or council, and the conduct of the affairs of the government or council or such agencies shall be carried out in such a manner as to recognize the diversity of the people within its area of authority and the need to promote a sense of belonging and loyalty among the peoples of the Federation. Mr. President, if you take this with the Section 217 and 219 here, you can say that this is a harmless bill that has been proposed here for us to give a concession. We have to, if you want the loyalty of Nigerians, of all sections of the country, you have to give vent to it. Part of it is having the commission. And if the commission is there, it's going to help to ensure that there is that everybody is represented every part of the country. Well, nobody is saying this. Today, somebody will be a president of the Federal Republic from one geopolitical zone. Tomorrow, it can be another. What we are saying is something that is constant for all of us, something that is constant for everybody. It's not a question of anybody now saying, because you are here, you are saying this. And again, Mr. President, it's very, very important and germane here that my colleague, whom I respect so much, Senator Abdullahi Buhari.
Distinguished no, before you say something, I will say something. No, before you round up, please address, if you have to call the name of any senator, call him his proper name. We have no Abdullahi Buhari in this chamber. We have Abdullah Adamu, in case you want me to remind you. Thank you.
I've taken note of your correction, Mr. President. It's my friend when we share such names here. Mr. President, what I want to say is, why now? The question of why now is that we are legislators. This is our time. Anytime a member of the National Assembly thinks anything fit that will engage the sensibilities and attention of the Parliament, that is the time. This is the time we have here. So we can legislate on anything. Mr. President, I want to say, please, let us, gentlemen here, let us be what we are, that we are distinguished members of the National Assembly. Let us allow our bill to go for the second reading. If anybody...
You can round up now, please.
But don't kill it.
Senator James Manager.
Thank you, my highly respected President of Senate, my colleagues, distinguished senators, James Ebiowo, Manager, CON, Delta Sound. Mr. President, my highly respected colleagues, I want to toe the line of thinking and reasoning of the Senate leader and the Deputy Senate President. Mr. President, this bill is just calling on us to do what we ought to have done a long time ago. So I see it on the surface as it appears. I see it to be harmless. It's a constitutional provision, 219 of the amended Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And looking at the bill itself, Mr. President, this bill is about more than 1 year old in this system. The bill is more than 1 year old. Yes, it's just coming for second reading today. So, Mr. President, it is not about what is happening today. It is about what we ought to have done long time ago. And, Mr. President, as far as I'm concerned, it is our responsibility to look at issues that are before us. And that is why we come here to sit every day, at least 3 times a week. Mr. President, just like I said, under your presidency in this Senate, there is what we now see as a style, which is good. Bills come here, if they have to die after the second reading. That is the system that I have seen. And this particular bill is important. The details will come out. If the details come out and the bill is not good enough for Nigeria, the experts, let us not feel that we have a reservoir of knowledge. We will invite people for public hearing. Those who will come for public hearing will also advise us whether this bill is good or not good. So at the end of the day, the report will be presented. And when the report is presented, we'll go for clause-by-clause reading. A particular clause that is not good enough for this country will be taken out. Mr. President, there's nothing wrong with this bill. And I want to say that we are unnecessarily politicizing this bill. It's a harmless bill, and let's see it at that. Thank you, Mr. President.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that this bill be now read a second time, say aye. Those against say nay. The nays have it.
Point of order.
Leader of the Senate. Leader of the Senate. Point of order, minority leader. Point of order, minority leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. My distinguished colleagues, Order 73. I'm following it. Any senator may challenge the opinion of the president or the chairman by claiming a division. You have a right to vote. So, Mr. President, I claim a division and I want us to vote one after the other.
Well, let me first of all say that that is not my opinion. It's not my opinion that the nays had it. We took a vote. The nays outnumbered or outweighed the ayes. So I think it's not right or it's not correct that the minority leader would impute the defeat of the bill to the President of the Senate. I think you may find another thing, but I didn't rule inappropriately.
Mr. President, I have been in this Senate since 2007. And anytime anybody comes up to claim a division, that division is voted upon. Mr. President, I'm not saying that you did right or wrong. I'm only saying, give me my right. And my right is that I'm saying that all our members here ought to get up and vote for this.
Minority leader. Minority leader. Minority leader. DSP. You raise your hand.
Mr. President, I was only going to point out what you already said. The essence of Order 73 is to challenge the opinion of Mr. President or the chair. The power you just exercised is not an opinion and therefore not subject to Order 73. I so moved.
Is to claim a division.
Senator James Manager.
Thank you, Mr. President, my highly respected colleagues. Mr. President, we have had senators challenging the opinion of Senate presidents in the past. The ruling of the President of the Senate, 73, is very clear on that. Mr. President, this is Parliament, and this Parliament is about 20-something years old. Mr. President, you have been here since the National Assembly, this present National Assembly, in 1999, from the House of Reps to the Senate. It is very clear, even if we vote and it's voted out, there's no problem there. This is democracy in action.
Precisely.
It's democracy in action. where it will go, it will vindicate you. Not your own opinion now. Your opinion is being challenged. And once your opinion is being challenged, you allow the practice to take place. And I sincerely believe that to wriggle yourself out of this, you allow a division to take place for people to now vote. That is my humble view. From the way you ruled, and from the nays and the years, it is very clear. But don't allow this to go down as if you have refused to allow division to take place here. That is my humble view. It's a humble advice, Mr. President. Based on parliamentary practice. Old man, not by my age, but I am fairly old here. Divisions have taken place here, and most times it has not gone against the ruling of the presiding officers. So let this be one of those ones, Mr. President, in my humble view. Thank you, Mr.
I'm not sure if you reflected the view of the minority leader. Minority leader, Senate leader, DSP. Yes. Please, leader, we are going into closed session. Leader. Close session, please, leader.